How's it going, hobbyists? Welcome back to the channel. It is our first new comic book day here today, and we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about, a lot of things I'm excited for, so let's do some stuff. Okay, so first up we have Batman #1. This is the 4th renumbering in the history of Batman, so not something that comes along all too often, and it's a great opportunity to jump into a Batman series from the very beginning. So this is written by Eisner Award-winning writer Matt Fraction. It's illustrated by Jorge Jimenez, who has done Batman franchises in the past, so he certainly brings that experience with him on this one. So this new series recently released September 3rd, and that released with quite a few variant covers from some pretty big names like Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, J. Scott Campbell, just to name a few. I picked up one by Jorge Jimenez himself, and the reason I liked it is because it's not your typical variant cover. It kind of shows a character design sheet, gives a little window into the thought process or the design process for the Batman within this series. DC describes this series as a fresh take on Gotham City, one that will introduce a new Batmobile, a new blue and gray costume, new villains, all while celebrating legendary heroes and villains alike. And I gotta say, this first issue certainly delivers on much of that tagline. So the suit, while new, has a very throwback design to it, specifically with the blue and gray color scheme, which I like quite a bit. The reader is introduced to new aspects of the costume very quickly by Batman using those new features, as well as a box on the page that names the feature and gives some statistics and capabilities. Now, this is done for both the suit and the Batmobile, and I think it's a pretty clever way of quickly familiarizing the reader with what these new features are. The story does a really good job of introducing you to characters and what seemingly some of the overarching themes of the series are going to be. For example, Jim Gordon here is a beat cop. He's no longer the commissioner. He isn't retired. He's out on the force. And it will be interesting to see what his role in this series is going to be, how he's able to contribute. Very early on in this story, we're introduced to Killer Croc, who goes on kind of a rampage through the city. And we're introduced to a doctor, sort of a psychologist, who's been working with him, who believes that he, as a villain, can change and that his current actions aren't who he truly is. Though Batman disagrees and believes that people don't really change. Now this, in the story, culminates with Batman and Killer Croc having a sort of heart-to-heart. And it appears that Batman in this moment may actually be questioning his own point of view. But we are introduced to the Commissioner, who is Vandal Savage, who appears to be hell-bent on control of the city through armed forces. The end of the issue teases what's called the Blue versus the Bat with a picture of Savage, so they are obviously headed towards some kind of conflict. Overall, this issue to me is a win, and if you have the chance to pick one up, I highly recommend you do so if they're still available. Again, not many opportunities to jump into a Batman series at #1. One other thing DC has done with this release is the return of the bagged issue. Now, this is something that I feel like was a lot more common in the 90s. In each one of these, you get an issue of Batman #1, but the cover is a random foil variant cover, and 2 of them are a lot more rare than the others. So you can get a gold foil variant of the original Jorge Jimenez cover that's found 1 in every 1,000 bags, or you can get a gold foil version of the Jim Lee cover, which is found 1 in every 500 bags. So let's open this up and see which cover we find. All right, so this is the bag here, black bag with a new blue Batman style logo on the front there. So it's Batman #1, Blind as a Bat, Polybag Special Edition. We got Long Live the Bat on the bottom with the DC logo. And on the back again, Batman #1. And each bag includes 1 randomly inserted foil variant cover by a superstar artist, and again, the DC logo. So let's open this up and see which foil cover we get. Okay. And let's see here. We got, okay, it's not the gold foil version, but this is the Jim Lee cover. That is super cool. And the back is a little bit foil as well. Okay, so there's our foil variant cover by Jim Lee. Always happy to pull a Jim Lee anything, really. One thing I didn't mention is that behind all the variant covers is the actual cover for the issue. So even though you get a variant cover, you still get the original that came with the issue, which I think is a cool addition. So up next is Ghost Pepper. What initially draws me to a comic book is the art, and what helps me to stay is the story. I saw this cover of Ghost Pepper and I was immediately intrigued. This is a book created by Ludo Lullabi, who is known for his work on Transformers. He is the creator, the writer, the artist, and the letterer, so he definitely has his work cut out for him. The art style of this book is very manga inspired, but even though it has that manga sort of cartoony look, the bleakness of the world that this story takes place in still comes through. In this book, humanity is delivered from a monstrous threat known as the Great Cinder. Batar, the one who's supposedly responsible for defeating this threat, has become humanity's leader. Even though the world survived, things aren't great for everyone. Loloi is surviving in this world as a food truck operator who serves a mysterious, hungry man named Ash who has a robotic companion. Batar sees Ash as a major threat, and the two of them are obviously on a collision course, and based on what I've seen so far, I am in for it. Next up, we have Minor Arcana. So this is Minor Arcana number 10. This is Jeff Lemire's current ongoing monthly book, and he splits the illustration duties for this between himself and Letizia Cadenici. Now, this story follows a woman named Teresa who has to return home to take care of her ailing mother who's been diagnosed with cancer. And it's immediately obvious that she really does not want to be there. The one thing that she's able to look to for comfort so far in the story is the relationship with her grandfather who has already passed away. And the memory of him seems to bring her happiness. She and her mother don't have the greatest of relationships. She believes her mother to be a fraud, and really her mother agrees with her. She's not an actual psychic. But she soon finds herself having experiences that she can't explain. She starts to see things from the other side, so to speak. So while her mother truly was a fraud, Teresa is not. And she decides to take over her mother's shop and becomes the town psychic herself as she tries to learn exactly what's going on. In this issue, we learn some of her grandfather's past and a little bit about how they might be connected. If you're familiar with Jeff Lemire, this is definitely a Lemire book. Now, I will say, I oftentimes find myself thinking that this book would have been elevated if Dustin Nguyen had done the art, but then again, Dustin makes everything better. So next up is Megaman Zero Timelines. This is an Udon release. It's issue number 1. And the art in this book is also very manga in style, but that tracks. It's a Mega Man game, right? It follows that cartoony robot sort of feel. Very colorful on the inside. The art is great. One thing I really like what they've done is that they've played a lot with depth of field on the page. So there are panels where it looks like you're looking through the lens of a camera, where the foreground is blurred and the background is not, or vice versa. I did read this, and while the story isn't necessarily for me, this comic also isn't for me. I bought this for my son. He's a huge Megaman Zero fan, and he's gonna eat this up all day. All right, so that's what I picked up this week. If there are things out there that you're reading that you wanna share, please leave those down in the comments. I'm always looking for recommendations for new books to pick up. Always looking for a new good story and great art to look at. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.